Great to see you all. Thank you so much for showing up to another quarterly goal check with me, Sonia Simone. I am so glad to have you all here. So I do these once a quarter. I generally do them pretty close to the equinox or the solstice, and the intention is to um, re-spark a little bit of that momentum that we often get at the first of the year to sort of want to do all the things and want to get clear about where we're going. So just to keep that energy going and also to have um, a formal space and time to make realistic reworks of our plans. So let's got a little agenda sheet here. So we're going to relook at any priorities. Now, if you didn't set any January priorities, that's fine. You can just start today, not a problem. But we're going to take a look at them, see if they really making sense. How's this feeling? And break them into goals. There is going to be some time for free writing, so just um, writing whatever's kind of coming to you, brainstorming. Don't overthink it. Just kind of blurt out whatever's on your mind. Get it onto the page. I always like to make some time and space for a self-gratitude practice. So if you haven't done that with me before, we'll get into it. And then we wrap up we take a fresh sheet of paper and we sort of, all that brain dumping and free writing we did, we zero in on it and we clarify the focus on a couple of things we'd like to put a little more time and attention into. I'm going to spend about 2 minutes letting you know I have a new, very kind of user-friendly, overwhelm-friendly little program that I'm floating out there to see if people are interested. So I'm going to spend literally 2 minutes on that. It's not a big sales thing. I just want to let you know it's there. And then we do have time for questions at the end. Now, if something is just like, you're just like, I have no idea what you just said, just pop it into the chat. That's great. And we'll make sure nobody gets super lost. But if you have a deeper question or you want to think about maybe how something really relates to your situation, we do have time. So let's get this rolling. So first thing to do is just grab anything, any old thing to write with. So if you are more of a paper and pen person, go snag whatever's handy. You can do this on your phone. You could do this on your laptop, any way you feel comfortable writing, especially brainstorming kind of writing. Just go ahead and snag that. And we're going to jump right into it. So we'll start by spending a little time just getting with yourself right now, getting a little bit grounded. What do you want? Like, what do you want? What do you want to have more of, do more of? What would you like to get done? What would you like to maybe do differently, like a different habit, a different area of focus? Do you want to be, more a better friend? Do you want to be a better professional? What do you want? And for this whole session, it's really not only about work and business. Throw anything you want on there because you're one human being. You have one set of human hours, and you've got to allocate that time and that energy somehow. So put it all on there because it's all got to be managed. And feel free to keep in mind that, no one's going to read this. I wouldn't really advise showing it to anybody. So if you want to put on something that's embarrassing or, not your proudest moment, just put it on there. This is just for you. This is for your own self-reflection and clarity. If you have something that's embarrassing, then that's not a problem. You don't have to share anything that you don't want to share. So keep writing. What do you want to make happen? What do you want to do? And as you are doing that, is there anything you would like to let go of? Would you like to let go of a habit that you don't think is serving you very well? Would you like to do less of something? You don't have to let it go completely, but maybe you'd like to do a little less doom scrolling. Maybe you'd like to do a little less, I don't know, whatever it is that you're just not such a fan of. You want the balance to look a little different. So get that on there as well. Sometimes when we have things that maybe we're not ready to give them up, but we would like to turn down the volume a little. It's really a question of setting a time and a place, just putting some little boundaries around that thing. Okay, I'm going to continue to have um, sweets. I mean, sweets are such a big one for so many people. People make so many promises about sweets and then things end up going the other direction. Maybe just put some boundaries and say, if I'm going to have sweets, I'm going to have them with my meals. I won't have them between my meals. That could be a really good way to just get some guardrails. And related to that, is there anything you want to rekindle? Is there anything that you used to do that you'd like to start doing again? Or that you want to turn up the volume on something? You do it, but you don't do as much of it as you would like to do. You want to eat more vegetables, or you want to spend more time with your friends. Want to get a little more exercise in, a little more writing time in. So is there something maybe at one point you were really strong with it and it's not so strong anymore? So you're just continuing to write now about anything you want to make happen, something you want to be, something you want to do, something you want to have. You want to have more money? That's just great. Put that on there. This is a great one from Heidi. I want to focus my attention more on one thing at a time. And I want to spend less time on social media, both at work and in my personal life. Yeah, that's a really good one. So we're going to be thinking today about priorities, but sometimes there are kind of priorities and then there are priority pluses, or there are habits that will support a priority and that, maybe putting a little bit better boundaries around social media is a really good one. If you want to get more writing done, then having a little bit more boundaries around social media time is a good way to start to make room for that. All right. So I'm hoping you have a page with lots of mess on it. All the free writing for this, leave kind of room because you may want to expand something. You might want to come back to it later today and add some things, or come back to it tomorrow morning and add some things. But looking at your kind of list, your wish list of the things that you would like to have or like to do differently, pick 3 that you'd like to work on for the next 3 months. So what are 3 things you'd like to put more time, more energy, more focus, more love? 3 things that you would rather come first more often over the next couple of months. And leave some room on the page because we're going to take one of these and we're going to kind of expand it out, kind of mind map it out. And if you wrote down 3 priorities and there was not one there related to your self-care or related to your happiness, then add one. So you have 3 plus 1. If you already had a self-care or happiness one, you can stick with 3. It's your game, it's your rules. Taking care of your instrument, taking care of your mind, your body, your emotional energy, your relationships as well, is generally really important to getting the other things you want to do done. If you're exhausted and resentful and don't feel good and don't feel connected to, your best self, it's going to be real hard for you to do your best work. So hopefully now you've got anywhere between 2 and 4 priorities on the page. And if anybody wants to drop in a priority that you'd like to work on, feel free to do that. Sometimes that's good because we're about to unpack this and start to make a plan for it. And that can be easier to do when we're talking about something specific. It's always easier to talk about things in the specific. So anybody, if you have one for, let's say, a writing practice, a business practice, a self-care practice, we would love to know about it in the chat. Stop multitasking, schedule a time for writing, turn off notifications, close other screens, set a timer. Awesome. Thank you, Heidi. Okay, so over the next few minutes, we're going to take one of your priorities and we're going to expand it out into a plan. So we don't do this for all 2 to 4 of your priorities because it would take a super long time. And that gets, tedious. So we'll pick one, and then you can either go through the replay and expand the rest of them. And we'll also just put the steps on the replay. So you can just take your others and expand them out and come up with a more fully fleshed plan. So pick one to expand for now. I would say either pick the one that's most important to you or pick the one that is the easiest. You can go either way depending on how you're feeling. But pick one of those. Let's say scheduling time for writing. We use Heidi's as a little bit of an example. We're just going to expand that out so that it's more likely that in 3 months when we meet again, this is actually you're going to be able to feel like you've really made some progress. All right, so we're going to take these kind of vague, priorities are always vague just by their nature. They tend to be vague. So we're going to start pinning them to some specifics. And we're going to translate, take your just one of the priorities you want to work on, pick one at random if you want. And we're going to translate it to accomplishments, habits, and states. So let's look at what that means. So scheduling writing time, or maybe as a priority, spending regular time writing, developing a regular writing habit. When if we come back in 3 months and that has been done, it is an accomplishment. What does that look like? That looks like I did an average of at least 4 writing sessions a week for the last 3 months. So it's just a concrete, it's an objective accomplishment. This is what actually happened. This is the success picture, right? When you have this dialed, this is what this looks like. I am regularly writing at least 4 days a week. I'm regularly doing some writing every day, even if it's small, is another one. So what does that accomplishment look like for you? 2 days a week might be your accomplishment state. It's really up to you. It's your game, it's your rules. Then connected to that priority and goal, what habit would be associated with that? So I have a regular, if there's a time in your day when you can do this regularly, a habit could be I write for 10 minutes every morning, with my coffee. And Petchy has a money goal. If I can accomplish that, it'll help her accomplish all of her other goals, less hustle, more space. Yeah. So that's a good one as well, Petchy. So the accomplishment is I'm earning X amount of money regularly, right? So then a question is, what habit do you think you could work on? Would it be a habit of outreach, for example? Is it a prospecting habit? Is it is it engaging more on LinkedIn? Is it publishing more content or publishing more, publishing on YouTube. So what's a habit? Now you can capture more if you want to, but think about kind of a cornerstone habit that you think would start to unlock some real change. And then the state, going to take your one priority and translate it to a state. What's it going to feel like when this is going well? Are you going to feel confident? Are you going to feel calm? Are you going to feel less stressed? Are you going to feel more excited about what you're doing? Yeah, and it's interesting, Petchy, because to just go business for a second, I'm really finding a lot of places that folks who used to rely a lot on content, like we would publish stuff and people would read it and then they would get back to us and we would get good things going on. A lot of us inbound, to use a kind of a content marketing jargon word, folks are finding that we need to reach out more than we used to for whatever reason. We'll go into that. We'll have another session and we'll talk about that. So a lot of folks who are a little bit stressed about their, freelancers and people have courses and creators and stuff like that are a little more stressed about money because they don't have this habit yet of reaching out and also following up. So that's a really good one. And I think one a lot of people share. So state, I'm feeling secure. I feel financially confident. I feel like a writer. When I write every day, I feel like a writer. It's funny to me how common it is that folks who want to write don't feel comfortable saying I'm a writer. So what's an emotional state that's going to come when you've been able to put some real time and attention into this priority? And you can change these later. So nothing that you write today, it's not a contract. You're not going to get sued if you change your mind later. What's the good enough for today version of these three things? Okay. Anybody need more time to just sketch out an accomplishment, a habit, and a state that would be associated with one of your priorities? Anybody panicking? This shift, when we shift from vague to specific, sometimes is a little bit rocky. All right, let's keep going. We will have, again, we will have like some notes for you with all of these, so do not feel like you have to frantically scribble anything. Okay. So looking at this priority, let's say a priority is scheduling, having regular scheduled writing time. And by the way, for some of us, writing every single day, as we're drinking our coffee in the morning or whatever it is, works really well. For other people, trying to do something at the same time every day, you just have a history of that has not really worked that well for you. So sometimes you're going to find some different pockets. So Wednesday, the last time I worked in corporate, every Wednesday after work, I would stay late for 2 or 3 hours and I would work on my business. It was my own time. I was supposed to be off the clock, right? But I would do it in the office because I had a 3-year-old at home. And so, I needed that kind of time and space. So you can do different things. You can say, okay, it's going to be Tuesday mornings and it's going to be Wednesday afternoons and maybe Saturday, first thing Saturday. Doesn't have to be the same time every day. And if that's not worked for you in the past, how could you shake it up for a couple of months and try something new? So what good things happen? What do you get out of the time and, more important, the emotional energy you're going to be putting into this priority for the next couple of months? So it's great that maybe it'll benefit other people. That's fine. No problem. We're interconnected. I want to know what good things happen for you. What do you get out of it? How do you what's better about how you're feeling? What's better about your checking account? What's better about your um, stress level? What's better about your, um, just feeling good, feeling positive? What do you get out of this? And for the rest of today, I'm going to invite you to be secretly selfish. That's why I say you don't have to show these notes to anybody. Please embrace your inner selfish hag, whether you're male or female or other. Be selfish with this. It's great to benefit others. A lot of us, that is a big motivator, but there's nothing wrong, honestly, with doing something that's very beneficial to another person because it makes you feel good. That's legitimate. What are your feelings? What are your states? So sketch out the good things that are going to happen for you because this is going to take some time and it's going to take some energy. And so you should get compensated. I'm also not at all averse to, could you engineer a couple of little rewards for yourself? Can you say, okay, that, every time I reach out to 5 prior clients, I'm going to give myself a cupcake, whatever it is, whatever your version of a cupcake is, which could include an actual cupcake. That's fine. Go for it. How can you engineer some celebration? Exactly, Robert. Celebrate your wins. Get in that habit of kind of spoiling yourself. I hate that verb spoil because I think it's very guided. Absolutely spoil yourself. And then take a minute and think about and try and visualize if you really have good success with this over the next couple of months, what is it going to look like? What could that look like? What would a couple of months of consistent effort, what might be the result? How will you know you're successful? That can be a useful question to keep you off of that never enough kind of treadmill. All right, I invite you to keep fleshing those things out, turn the page, leave some room. If you're in a physical, paper and pen, paper and pencil, leave yourself some room to expand. That's the nice thing about digital is it keeps expanding. But we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to look at, so for this priority, so let's say your financial situation, which is the example that I had here, or the amount of time that you're spending on writing. What does that look like today? Now, it can get tricky here because it can be really easy to start getting really frustrated with yourself and unkind to yourself. So this is not what that's about. It's really about awareness, not self, punishment or recrimination, but striving for an emotionally neutral state. Where are you with that priority today? What does that look like today? So if you had, let's say, a financial priority, the accomplishment is you want to make $1 million or, your net worth or whatever, however you like to define it. Okay, so the accomplishment today is this is how much money I made so far in 2024. My goal is to make $1 million. And so far I've made how much? And that might be a small number, it might be a large number. If your goal is to do more, like you want to write a solid 4 times a week reliably, how much are you writing now? How many writing sessions do you have now? Some things, by the way, writing is one of them. I really recommend having a goal about the time that you make available. And for writing or other creative work, any kind of work that is a little bit challenging emotionally, set yourself the time to say, okay, I have a 40-minute block where all I can do is write. I'm going to just take my phone, I'm going to put it in another room. Um, I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to write, or I'm going to do nothing. But I'm not going to do a distraction because you might not write. But if you set aside that 40 minutes to write and you don't do another thing, count that as your win. Rather than saying, I got 500 words written, I got 1,000 words written. Sometimes focusing on the output can get us really gummed up. So focus on the part you can definitely control. So it might not be I earned X dollars. It might be I reached out to, 20 new people a week. And so far I've reached out to one new person a week. Habit. So where are you? What's your habit today with that priority? What are you in the habit of doing right now? Right now I'm in the habit of um, getting into like a big social media squabble. And then I look up and there's my writing time gone. Not to punish yourself, but just to say, okay, let's get real about where are we right now? And then how does it feel? What is the state, the emotional state, how you feel in your body around where you are with this today? And then just take a minute to just notice what's different. Really striving for that kind of, the Buddhists call it equanimity, that sort of not being yanked to it's terrible, it's awesome, but just trying to settle in the middle and just be with what is. It doesn't make you a good person and it doesn't make you a crappy person. And just because you've had one set of habits and states and accomplishments does not in any way mean that you cannot do something differently. Getting invested in that identity of being the kind of person who can't do this is really common. And it can be managed. All right. So now we have a priority and we have some clarity on particularly what are the habits? What are the things that I could do, let's say between 4, even 3, between 3 and 7 times a week? I usually find that a 6 or 7 day a week habit that's smaller will tend to get you better progress. It just builds momentum, and momentum is really useful. But if I can get a habit, even if it's potentially rather small to start, if I can get a habit rolling, what's the first place I'm going? What's the first just concrete place I'm going? Say, so if you want to make $1 million, the way you get to $1 million is the first thing you do is you make $1,000. But if you want to make $1,000, the first thing you do is you make $1. What's the first kind of meaningful milestone for you? It shouldn't be so far out that you get bummed out. It should be something even, for sure, something that you could say, yeah, I could do this actually by the end of the month. And maybe even by the end of the week, by the end of the day, depending on what time of day it is. So, to be cliched, every journey, every project is composed of a number of steps. So what are some of the mile markers? They're kind of celebration points. I do this on really boring car trips because I don't enjoy going on car trips, and my husband loves to drive. So I usually bring some sewing or something so I don't get so bored, but I also will just keep an eye on the mile markers. So if we're going 100 miles, I'm always looking up like, okay, we're 20 miles in. Okay, now we're 30 miles in. What do those look like? You're 20 miles in, you're 30 miles in. And then given that first milestone, just a point, just a little celebration point. Yep, I did this little part of this project. What's the first step toward that milestone? If you were a fan of the old getting things done methodology, this would be like the next action, something that's probably a 20-minute or less thing. A lot of times this is around just getting everything organized. You know, if you want to do more outreach, then your first step is probably, okay, let me make a list of, let's say, 10 or 20 cold leads or former clients that I can reach out to and see if they've got anything going on. But it also might be because Petchy has a new right client, it might be spending just, getting some headphones and some kind of space age music and going to a coffee shop or somewhere I like to be and just spending an hour just dreaming. What does that right client even look like? Who do I want? Going back, what do I want? So what's the first step or a first step that gets you a little bit of momentum? These are very often revolve around um, organizing, like writing an outline, something like that, or sometimes decluttering, just clearing out some space in your calendar, clearing out some space in your office, putting off some things that are not really a priority, but you do them because they are comfortable psychologically. You don't even like them, but they're comfortable. And then as you're writing, if there's other steps, you just know, like, I know that I have to write an outline. I know that I have to find a blog post image. I know that I have to um, do some SEO research, whatever the steps might be for your project. If you know what they are off the top of your head, just go ahead and write them down and you can get them organized, but we have to identify them before we can get them organized. So I will give you all my ninja productivity secret, which is kind of in two parts. The first part is that prep like this is real work. Writing, doing research, finding blog posts, brainstorming headlines, um, all that prep is real work. And it's interesting how often getting enough sleep sometimes is real work, right? Having the painful like phone call with your friend or your family member can be real work because that's what's getting in the way of all the other work. So first of all, preparation is real work. Decluttering your office is real work. And secondly, if you can get that work scheduled the same way you do things that you do consider to be real work, you're scheduling that momentum. As soon as it's in motion, it's much easier to keep it in motion. If you have regularly scheduled 5 minutes for writing time and you're just going to maybe write a couple of sentences, but you can do that really regularly, that momentum will start to pick up and you'll start to be able to look for some spaces on the calendar to expand that out. All right, then just do a check. Looking at this, we're starting to get a sense of what our tasks are. What are we actually going to do to get this thing we want? Do you have what you need? Do you have the tools? Do you have the resources? Do you need, equipment? Do you need some contact information? Um, do you need just 10 minutes to catch your damn breath? Do you need to go take a walk so you can get regrounded? Do you need to make a phone call? Do you need to go dig into your hard drive and find that course that you signed up for that you just haven't quite done yet? So, do you have the stuff you need to make this thing happen? Is there anything you need to get, put your hands on? And then just take a little look at what you've written out, at some of these tasks, where they're going. It's all going to be very messy at this point. And then at the end, what we'll do is we'll turn the page, start with a clean sheet, and we'll create a more tidy, more actionable version. But just take a quick look. Is there anything missing? Is there anything sort of like, yeah, if I don't, you know, if I don't get my painful tooth fixed, then I'm not gonna be able to work on anything else. Is there anything that you sort of haven't put down, but honestly, if you just think about it for a sec, yeah, I kind of do have to put that into the mix. It has to get done. And then looking at your milestone, do you need an earlier one? So if you have $1 million goal and your milestone is $100,000, um, do you need, but right where you are now is $10, do you need an earlier milestone? Is there an earlier celebration point you could put? Yes, I am on my way. Because what you want to do is you want to work from milestone to milestone. So if your milestone is too far out, you will get discouraged and you will not be energized. You will not be enthusiastic. You'll get a lot of like self-doubt creeping in. So more milestones is better. And you totally have my permission to like, yay, I wrote a paragraph today and like, give yourself a treat. I'm a big fan. If you want to give yourself a treat for getting the laundry done, I think you deserve that treat. Be willing to be self-indulgent around getting these things done that matter to you. All right. I would invite you now, please stretch a little bit. If you're in a situation where you can stand up and stretch and do a little bit of deep breathing, just shake things out. We've been very tactical. We've been working on a lot of kind of uncomfortable things. I want to get us recentered on a self-gratitude practice. This is a practice of, you know, we all have we've all heard of gratitude practices like I'm grateful for my family and I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head and all the things, and that's great. I mean, that's great. Um but this is where I want us to practice it's just like the Snoop Dogg method, right? I'm grateful for me. I'm grateful that I put the work in. I'm grateful that I did this thing yesterday. This is the self gratitude, honoring your own wins, honoring your own self. So we're going to do a little bit of timed free writing. And I would say just keep the words coming. Sometimes some people find this very easy. Some people find this very difficult, but just keep writing. If you're not sure, just keep writing. So we'll do a little bit of timed writing here. I'm going to grab my timing device. Get my little timer going. Okay. All right. If we're ready, deep breath in, out. Let's do this thing. All right. What are some things that you have gotten done in these past months? These can be professional and they can also be personal. So things you've gotten written, This can also be, if you have a 9 to 5, if you have an obligation, it goes on there as well. So, um, I had a big project at work. I took care of aging parents. I took care of short people. I took care of pets. I was a good friend. Um, I got my walks in. So spend a minute and really go into what have you gotten done these past months? And if you need to take a look at your like calendar or you know um, old to-do lists, do that as well. So I'm going to give us one more minute. Hopefully you've already been writing, but I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you really think about what have you gotten done for these past, since the first of the year, or let's say since the holidays in 23. About 10 more seconds. Right, well done. Now, if there's something that you didn't get done, but you did make progress on it. So, you know, in the context of writing, you didn't, you didn't finish your book, but you did get pages written. In the context of a financial goal, maybe you didn't sign a bunch of new clients, but um, you started to get a handle on the process, right? Process is a really big one. So it's just something you made progress on, some pre-work, some getting ready work, even if you don't feel like it was an accomplishment. So we'll spend one more minute on that. About 20 more seconds. All right. If anybody wants to drop some of these into the chat, please feel free and we'll give you a little celebration. So some things you've gotten done or you made some good progress on so far this year. Now I want you to spend about a minute writing about what are you good at? Again, these are secret brags. So you're a good writer, you're a good friend, you're a good coach. What are you actually good at? Even if you feel like it's big headed to admit it. 1 minute. All right, a few more seconds. Oh, nice, Michelle. 3 blogs this year for the 6 and 6. That's a copy hackers thing. Very good. Robert's big accomplishment, making progress on completing a digital course. Woot woot. It's so easy to get discouraged and feel like nothing's happening. All right. Now I want to give you a little more time, maybe a little shy of a full minute. If there's something that you didn't list because you felt like, well, I wouldn't say I was good at it. Like there's so many people who are so much better at it than I am, but you have put some work into it. You have studied it. You have, um, maybe you say, well, I wouldn't call myself a good writer, but I've studied writing and I've really put a lot of work into being as good a writer as I can be. List that as well. Spend a little more time on that one. Or it could be, and it can also be a duplicate of what you already wrote. I'm really good at writing and I've also put a lot of work into writing. So what have you put a lot of work into getting good at or getting better at? Keep in mind, these don't have to always be professional. You can say, I'm a good friend. I've put a lot of work into trying to be a good parent or a good sister. And so many things in this world, being passionate about them and caring about them and putting the work in, sometimes is more important than being objectively, skilled, objectively having a high score in that thing. Yeah, Heidi's put a lot of work into caring for her elderly mother, transitioning to a new role. One of the reasons I do these self-gratitude exercises is a lot of times there's a lot of emotional energy getting put into something that we're not necessarily giving ourselves credit for, or we're not necessarily taking into account. I don't know why I can't get anything done. And you've got little kids and you've got aging parents and you've got a sick dog and you've got, you know, health challenges and you've got a, weird work environment, or there's all kinds of things that are using up your emotional energy. And it's important to see that so you can allocate what you've got remaining without getting mad at yourself. All right. And then just a little bit shorter one, but think about a time, reflect for just a minute, a moment in the past couple of months when you were kind, when you had an opportunity to be kind to somebody and you took advantage of that opportunity and you were kind. And it can be very small. It could be just being nice to, the person who checks you out at the grocery store, just telling them to have a good day. And feel free to flesh these out later if you like. But now I want you to think about a time in these past couple of months when you worked hard, when you put a lot of effort in, and effort relative to what you had to give. If you're exhausted, maybe your health is challenging you, So you did something and somebody else might not think it was very big, but it was hard for you. That's what I want you to put here. What was a time in these last few months when you really did put a lot into something and it was hard for you and you put that work in? And then I'm going to wrap us up with, is there anything that you don't think you should get credit for? So I see this a lot with people who have a 9 to 5 and then they want to go out and do start their own business. And so all they ever give themselves credit for is the new business. Um, did you do a good job at your 9 to 5? And another really common one is taking care of family members. Well, I shouldn't. What am I supposed to get a cookie for taking care of my elderly mother? No, that's just being a decent human being. Please write that down and give yourself credit for it. If you did it or put work into it, then I'm going to give you a cookie for doing it. All right. So that is our self gratitude practice. We have a little co working community and we do this every week. And I would advise you to do this. Make this a practice. It just takes a few minutes, but make this practice of reminding yourself, look back at your calendar and say, actually, I did a lot this week. I spent a lot of my time and my emotional energy this week. Maybe I didn't spend all of it the way I wanted to. That's just being a person. It's a good antidote. All right, let's get back to a little bit of planning. So now we're just going to take all this mess. If you've got just this big long mess of free writing and weird things and things you're not sure about and kind of overwhelming stuff, we're just going to take a fresh turn to page, digital page or a physical page, and just make a little quick, simple plan to start doing some things on these priorities. Again, 2 to 4 priorities. We're going to focus on one for now because otherwise it takes too long and it gets boring. And then go back and do the same thing for your other priorities. Okay, so just take a moment. What would you like to be the 3, maybe 4 things you want to work on between now and the summer solstice or the winter solstice if you're in Australia? You're not married to these. It's not a contract, but this is just how you see it right now. This is what I want to work on for the next couple of months. Put a little more time, a little more attention, a little more emotional energy. So pick one and leave yourself room for the other 2 or 3. What is like the accomplishment you want to reach for that? What's that just objective like measure of success for that priority? I've signed 3 new clients. Signing 1 new client a month for 3 months or 2 new clients a month. I have maybe you're going to use a tracker, right? And say, okay, I've tracked 30 hours of writing time. And by the way, of course, Heidi wants to work on writing regularly. And also, she's been writing a blog regularly every week. So she already has a good, strong writing practice. It just might not be, she might want to have more time to write something else, right? Other than that blog. So what's your accomplishment? What's the habit that you're going to associate? What do you want to start doing more habitually, more regularly, that's going to get you momentum to move toward that thing? And then how's that going to feel? How will you feel, especially when that habit becomes something that's kind of pretty sustainable, feels pretty, when you're in the future and like, yeah, I'm doing it. How's that going to feel? And I have to read you all this from Nia. I got my quarterly goal setting paper from last October, 2023 in front of me, and I'm floored to see that I've managed to accomplish or make steady progress on everything in my control on that sheet. I'm especially proud to see the self-gratitude sections because I was going through a particularly low time back then. So thank you so much for sharing that. I freaking love that. I will share a little secret with you about all those people who are doing all the things and you look at them and think, I wish I was like that person. They're whatever, they're disciplined or whatever they are. And in my experience, at least 80 to 90% of them are as screwed up as any of the rest of us are. They're just really good at pretending. Most people are insecure. They beat themselves up. It looks different externally, but most people are secretly screw ups. So if you feel like a screw up, most people are secretly screw ups. But we can learn to do little behaviors and get comfortable with them. All right, all right, all right. So then taking a look at your 3 priorities, if you kind of know a first milestone for each one, write it down or just write the first milestone for the one you've been working on today and then leave that room. What's the next milestone? What's your next marker on the track that you're going to get to? Thinking about, we're kind of like 2/3 of the way through March. So what would you like to sort of see accomplished by the end of the month? That can be a good milestone. Realistically, I think I can get this done by the end of the month. So then make that your milestone. For each milestone, so we'll start with one and then you're going to flesh them out. What's that kind of next action, the 20-minute action that would move you that direction? 20 minutes or less can definitely be a 1-minute action. And then if you can, if you've got a digital calendar and it's handy now, put that next step onto your calendar. Could you get it done? Is there like, do you have a little time today where you could just kind of sneak a little quick one in there? Or look at tomorrow. These have to be realistic, right? If your day is a total wall-to-wall meetings disaster tomorrow, then it's probably not going to be tomorrow. So what's a realistic time? You can take this into your calendar. If there's no realistic time in your calendar, then you know that your steps are going to be smaller, that you're going to make progress less quickly, and that is okay. Doing what you can do matters. I'm going to repeat that one more time and then we'll keep going. Doing what you can do in this context matters. And if you feel like it's too small to make any difference, go ahead and do it anyway. All right, my brilliant ones. I'm going to give you the 1-minute summary. I have a new thing. I thought of this as 24 and 24. I wanted to do 24 sessions with folks in 2024, just to help people feel a little bit less stuck. To help people feel a little bit less stuck and a little bit less when you're just feeling like if you've ever been like, it snows where I live and you get stuck in a parking space with a bunch of snow and you're just gunning your wheels and nothing is happening, kind of feeling like that. Or feeling like you're spending a lot of time and energy, but you're not spending it where you would like to spend it. So I'm just going to run through what this is. I will be sending you just a little note with some more information, with pricing. I'm not going to put pricing on this because it's going to go on the replay and all of YouTube doesn't need to know everything. Um, but here's what I'm putting together, and I would love to see if you would find this valuable. We'll start with a call to just get really clear on on a lot of what we talked about today. What do you want? What's getting in the way? What do you think the obstacles are? What do you think the next steps are? Really just have somebody to just bounce all these ideas off of. We're going to make a simple plan with next steps. So we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Here's our milestone. Here's our next to-do lists. Weekly accountability by email. On Mondays, we're going to do a quick email and say, okay, what are you planning on getting done this week? And then on Thursdays by email, we'll check in. I do these on Thursdays because if Thursday rolls around and it's not done, you've still got a day left to make it a win. Or we can also troubleshoot it. Okay, this didn't get done this week, but you really wanted to do it. Let's just figure out why and make a little quick plan to troubleshoot. Access to a wonderful group goal setting and co-working community that I have. Um, you can use this if you want to. It's sometimes very helpful to sit down with, other people who are also working. It's not chit chat time. It's not social time. It's just time to sit down with other people on the internet who are also working. And it's kind of like being in a co-working office. And then finally, very important, I am not a therapist. I'm not any kind of therapist. So this is about business goals that you have. If you have, a relationship thing you want to work on or a fitness thing, I don't I don't have the expertise for that, so I probably wouldn't be the right choice. But if you want to work on, your blog, if you want to work on a course, if you want to work on a freelance service business, I'm very good. Going back to my own self-gratitude, I'm very good at that. So I might be able to give you a hand. So watch your email and I'll send you the pricing, but I've tried to keep this um, affordable with a really good return. So that's it. Thus endeth the small promotion. We do have time for questions if people have questions. And I do these every quarter. So I might not do them every quarter forever, but we will meet again in the summertime. So as Nia said, this stuff accumulates. And so I would really encourage you, please come back in the summer and um, reflect on the good things you got done and then make a plan for the things that aren't happening yet. That's how we move forward. It's the only way we can move forward. All right, so here's a checklist. If you want to do a screenshot, you can, and I will put this in the replay when we publish it. I'll try and remember to also put it in the email. So you're going to set 3 priorities for this quarter, or 4 if all 3 of them are like external to you. So if it's like a business one and a family one and I don't know, like a day job one, then put one more in there for self-care and happiness. So 3 to 4, I like to say 2 to 4 because sometimes it's 2. Expand each of those priorities to those accomplishments, the habits, and the states that would be associated with a successful outcome for that priority. Define your next milestone, make it short, and then figure out what are my steps? What are my small steps toward those milestones? Get those steps on the calendar. And then you're going to work from milestone to milestone. So yeah, I mean, definitely, if you've got $1 million goal, that's great. I have no problem with that. I think that's fantastic. I don't have any issue with that. But keep 80% of your focus on your next, $1,000 or whatever your next kind of project milestone is for you. That's where most of your focus should go. And then from time to time, you look up to the horizon to the longer goal, but keep most of your attention on the next goal It just helps keep you motivated. And as you pass those milestones, you feel good. And then come back in the summer because we'd love to see you. All right, all right. Brilliant. Please give yourself credit for this. This is actually really rather hard for a lot of us. Um, to take reflection, to take the time to honor what we've done, to think about hard things. So thank you for showing up for yourselves. It's so important. And for showing up for one another. And if you have any questions, we've got time. So you can throw them into the chat, or if you would like, you can unmute. That would be fine with me as well. And I would be curious if anybody has a priority on your list that you secretly don't think is going to happen because it's been on your list for a long time. Like I've been trying to be a regular writer for 20 years and it's never happened. And I put it down, but I don't think it's really going to happen. I like to dispel that myth that successful people are the ones who, they knew what they were going to do from the time they were 7 and then they just did it. Yeah, Robert's working on becoming a better copywriter, studying the discipline. That's a great one. The interesting thing about copywriting too is there's so much technique. So, sometimes like working on becoming a better writer, we can get a little bit caught up in like, oh, I don't know if I'm creative. It's feels kind of amorphous, but copywriting is so much about technique. And I know lots of folks are coming in from Europe, so I get it. If you need to go to bed, I totally get that. Yeah, working on a brain-friendly system for goal setting. Lists don't work for me anymore. Yeah, there's so much of that out there. So many apps. Yeah, and I tried ClickUp. A lot of people find that a really good app for this stuff. I hated it. A lot of people use something like Asana. I hate it with it. I think it's a very good app. I hate it so much. Yeah, hell yeah, crayons. Also consider my friend and colleague Claire Emerson in Australia. She has this personal Kanban system. It's essentially a board with post-its. I like that because it's physical and it's tactile. You have to get that little dopamine hit, I think is the secret. So yeah, I mean, Petchy's another good sticky notes on the wall. So yeah, Claire Emerson, peopleloveprojects.com is her site. And she has this personal Kanban thing, and it's basically sticky notes on a board. Something
Yeah,
something appealing. Sticky notes to me are like, I don't like how they feel. So I have a problem with sticky notes, but if I could do like nice index cards, I think I could really make that work on a corkboard or something like that. All right. It's so good to have you all here. Thank you for doing the work. I love that you're taking what you want seriously enough that you showed up and did it. So thank you, my brilliant ones. I'm wildly impressed. Take care.